Welcome to the Abundant Accountant Podcast, where all accountants come to learn all the ways to grow your firm. And when you're in doubt, I am here to help you out. So if you're ready to learn and ready to grow your firm, then you're in the right place to sharpen your skills and increase your revenue. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of today's show, I wanted to show a warm appreciation to our reviewer of the week. And our reviewer of the week is Sean Mahoney. And Sean says, "Hey, Michelle, you know, I'm not an accountant or a CPA, but I get a lot out of it in my own personal way. So thanks a lot for what you're doing and have an amazing day." And I just want to reiterate that, you know, what I'm sharing here on the Abundant Accountant Podcast will help you in all facets of your firm, be it from, you know, making sure your head is in the game and that you hold out for those dreams, since I know that you're not. Most of you might not want to be in a corporate position. So I am talking to the accountingpreneurs here listening to the Abundant Accountant Podcast. But I do want to hear from more of you. So I'd love it if you could subscribe and also leave a rating for the show and write a review. Your written review will be a highlight on a future episode here on the Abundant Accountant Podcast. So for today, I would like to request that at the end, make sure to take a screenshot of this episode on your phone when you're finished listening to it and tag myself, Michelle Weinstein, on LinkedIn, and also hashtag the Abundant Accountant Podcast, and share with me, what are your biggest takeaways from today's episode? What is one thing that you're going to put into action today in your firm or at your job? So with that said, once again, take a screenshot of today's episode on your phone, and at the end, post it to LinkedIn. Make sure you tag me, Michelle Weinstein, and also hashtag the Abundant Accountant Podcast. I want to know what you're thinking. I want to know what your biggest takeaway is, and I'll be sure to share it on all of our social platforms. But today on the Abundant Accountant Podcast, we are talking about the 5 ways to establish trust without giving any information away or free advice to your clients. And, you know, I know for a lot of the accountants I work with, if you're giving away free advice, it's a desperate attempt to impress probably a potential client or gain a new client. And then you probably sit there and wonder, you know, is it really worth my time, or did I waste a lot of time? And then they didn't even join your firm as a new client. And of course, I'm sure you've wondered this, but most people's goals are to work as little as possible while making as much revenue and growing your top line revenue as possible. And this way of attempting to gain new clients, you know, doesn't really achieve the goal when we give away too much free advice or, you know, answer every single client's question. So in today's episode, I want to go over the 5 actionable ways that you can really establish trust without giving away any free advice, so you can increase your revenue while spending less time working. And I was wondering, and I was thinking about like, okay, well, what is the definition of trust? And I want to read it to you so you all have an idea of what this is, because the noun itself is a firm belief in the reliability, truth, ability, and strength of someone or something. That's what trust actually really means in the dictionary. So I don't know if anyone's ever actually read the definition. And did you know that trust is a law? So the law is confidence placed in a person by making that person the nominal owner of property to be held or used for the benefit of one or others. Okay, so that's a little bit of a weird languaging. I'm not like an English expert by any means, but I do believe that trust is believing in the reliability, the truth, and the ability, the strength of the other person. And the first thing that we want to do when working with new clients is building trust. I believe trust is the foundation of any new client enrollment that you're going to have. Any new client has to feel really comfortable. And I'm going to use an example that literally happened today. So I was working with one of my students, and we were both working with one of his clients who has some major tax liabilities that he will have to pay in the next year if he doesn't do anything in the next few weeks. Having trust is so important. So I'm going to use this example throughout today's whole podcast so you can really get a sense and understand how this might apply with one of your potential clients in your firm. So the first way is to really give a sample of your work and not the meal. And what do I mean by that? It's really about how can you maybe answer a client's question by giving them sort of the answer, but not everything. Because in order to get everything, you really need to get paid. So I'll give you an example. With this client, because that is going to be the basis today, we're going to call him John. And John and his wife, Susie, that is who we met with this morning. They both have a couple businesses. They have a lot of real estate investments. They own a building. And there's a massive opportunity to save money, about $150,000 actually in taxes this year, like right now. But for us, we couldn't give John and Susie all of the answers. Otherwise, they could have taken it, went down the street and, said, oh, well, can you do it for cheaper or whatever? And you're really giving your knowledge away for free at that point. And what you really want to know is how much content or how much information can you really share with a potential client where they see the end goal, but you don't really give them like the how are you going to do it? So you have to be strategic in the way that you communicate. And I know a lot of you are so brilliant and genius, and that's why I love working with each and every one of you. But your genius sometimes can actually hurt you. And what I mean by that is when we go through, all of let's say it was a land easement, for example, and you give away all the information on exactly what you're going to do, well, then they don't need you anymore, right? And when we keep giving information to our clients and they don't need us, then we don't really deliver the value or they're not going to pay for your value. So what I highly recommend is keeping things general. So we want to focus on the result. So the result for John and Susie was saving $150,000 minimum this year, plus $30,000 in tax savings year after year. That would be the result. What I'm not focusing on is the how, right? How are we going to do that? That's actually not relevant until they pay you. But a lot of times with a lot of accountants that I've worked with, we always provide the how and then wonder why the result never happens because they don't engage with you or they go somewhere else or they think they can do it on their own, which typically doesn't work out for anyone. So keep that in mind, okay? So remember, we want to give a sample, not the meal. So another way to really think about this, what's like your favorite place to go eat and get samples? Like when I go to ice cream places, this is a great example. One of my favorite is Pinkberry. I love Pinkberry yogurt. Well, when you go there, they give you a little sample cup of yogurt, but you don't get like a whole cup for free, right? You get a little sample. And when we provide what we're able to do and help our clients with and the results, that's like giving a little taste out of the sample cup at the yogurt store. And if they want the full cup with all the toppings, then they have to pay for it. So if they want to know the how and how you provide the savings of $150,000 this year plus $30,000 every year going forward, they're going to have to enroll with you and pay and engage. So that's the first way. So let's move on to the second way. So the second way is really, and I know this might be a little bit of a difficult one for some of you, but it's to show the human side of the business. So as accountants, we get really carried away with the numbers, and we really get carried away with like what form or, section this or section 139 and 141. And I don't even understand all the sections, but your clients, that's not interesting to them. What they really want to know is your personality. For For John and Susie, they're more interested in their accountant. We'll call it, the accountant, his name is Stephen, but what's Stephen up to with his kids? What's Stephen up to with his wife? What is Stephen up to in his brand new business where he's really able to change the lives of his clients because he actually has time? So when you free up time in your business too, and with your firm, you can provide a higher value service. So it's really important. Also, a great way to do this is have an About Me section on your website. So I'm not sure how many of you have an About Me section on your website, but it's something you want to do. On your LinkedIn profile, have an About Me section. If you have a Facebook profile, have an About Me section. And really talk to your potential clients about things other than your services as an accountant or a CPA. So with Stephen, he talks a lot about his family. He talks a lot about his kids. I think even with Stephen, if you want to do a little bonus, you can do a little video, an About Me video that you could put on your website, or you can even email it to your clients, right? So really imagine this. This will change the game of the whole industry. What if each of you listening, as the accountant and amazing CPA you are, made a little welcome video about who you are and sent it to all potential clients? Like, what would that be like if all of your future clients got a little bit of your personality and knew a little bit about you before they even met with you? This is all about building trust. Trust is about building connection, building rapport, and by doing that and increasing trust with each other, that's how you get to enroll more clients to work with you. And really be sure there is a picture of your face on your website, not just an About Me section, but make sure to add a photo. So having some professional photos is really helpful in that way as well. So not just numbers. Again, what are we talking about? Building trust, right? And building trust is everything that we're discussing today. So let's go through the third way. Making yourself available for some inquiries. There might be some clients that have some questions, which is a great way where you can screen future clients, but always be reachable for people to contact you to learn more about your services. Having a good website is one step, but also you might have an admin that can help answer your phone calls so you're not the one answering it. But if you're a solo accountingpreneur, that means you're taking in all the inquiries. It's really great to also create an FAQ page on your website, right? So you can put facts about you and common questions that maybe you get asked. And this is really different than just handing out and dishing out free advice. This is allowing people to get to know more about you, to get to know your personality. And there's plenty of people and accountants that I've personally worked with where I've had multiple phone calls with you prior to even enrolling in one of my classes or just being of service to you to help you. And if you want to get a little technical, and I've tried this personally, you can even install a live chat on your website so you can answer questions in real time. It's a little bit more technical. Maybe if you have one or two people in your office, that might be something you can test out, which in this day and age, it's actually pretty important, right? I mean, everyone is online. It's not how it used to be. So having a live chat box, having the opportunity to communicate instantly with clients will help not only build trust, but really let them know that you are a human on the other side and that you're available. And like I said, if you do have a staff member on board, you can have them be your main point of contact for your clients. But I think really having the About Me page, having the photo, if you want to go the extra mile, doing a video is a great way. And I know Stephen has done that and is doing that for his business, and the ROI is great. So again, anything you can do to build different touch points of trust with your clients will set you apart from other CPAs or accountants or bookkeepers or enrolled agents who are in your area. At the end of the day, you still have competition. So what I am trying to help you with is really learn other ways to build trust so the client says, oh, John and Susie see something unique in Stephen that they didn't see in anyone else. And he did that by all of these different touch points. . So let's go through the fourth way. This is probably one of the most important that I've heard a lot of complaints about, but it's being very clear about what your client should expect. And when talking to a potential client or even a current client, so some of you have some current clients and some are just starting out and might be starting out with brand new clients, we really need to be clear about our boundaries. What will we do for our clients and what will we not do for our clients? And having like a good line in the sand. You know when they say like draw a line in the sand? So this could be anything, and I'm just going to give you some examples. What you can offer them and what they should expect. One of the best ways to do this is by having really clear engagement letters for any services that you provide. Estimating the amount of hours that it would take you to do the work. If you estimate 20 hours and it's really going to take you 40, then that's kind of a problem, and we're not being very clear about what the client should expect. Again, we are building trust. Trust means we should probably under-promise and over-deliver. So every time you talk to a client, that's really important. So let me give you an example of how this actually happened today. So today with Stephen, we were with his client, John and Susie, and it was a fairly large engagement. It was a big tax plan, and there was going to be some implementation fees. Well, the client really wanted to be clear about what they should expect to pay for the implementation fee before they committed. So one of the things Stephen gets to do tonight is craft an email clearly stating out what are the boundaries, right? What are the expectations? What is going to be entailed to implement this work? And approximately how much that's going to cost. The client was okay with a range. But again, Stephen has to estimate how many hours will it take him. He must estimate a little higher and come in lower. Does it make sense? So think about that. How long will it take to achieve the end result? So if the end result is to save $150,000 in taxes this year and $30,000 year over year going forward, it's imperative that he estimates this correctly. And then how much access will he be allowed? So today in the call, the access was you can email as much as needed, and they will have a standing meeting every single Thursday from now going forward. So he will have access to Stephen every single week, be able to gather questions and bring them to the table. So his financial picture is going to completely be a 180 of what it was before. Because when they're doing tax planning engagements, which I'm sure a lot of you here listening have done, we're not just recording the history anymore. We're actually planning for the future. So there's a lot of moving parts in what to do. So really make sure you stick to your boundaries with this. Make sure you don't deviate off the path, and make sure that we don't allow our clients to take advantage of us where then we say, oh, well, I'm not getting paid enough anymore to do this kind of work. And that's really the thought that I know a lot of you have, right? You have a client who, let's say, wants to do a business tax return and they want it for under $1,000. It's like, I think a lot of you are just sick of dealing with the clients that are wheeling and dealing on price. And a lot of this has to do with what I'm talking about today, establishing trust. And on this one, step number 4, or idea number 4, or way number 4, whatever you want to call it, being very clear about what your client should expect of you and where can they not cross the boundaries. Like, you're not going to have a daily call with your client. Like, Stephen will not be talking to John and Susie every single day. He doesn't have the bandwidth for that, and it's not necessary, but he committed to once a week. So that's my example for that. Now, the 5th way, this is very important. Well, they're all very important, but is make sure that you follow through. In this day and age, there are so many accountants, a lot of accounting firms, and it's easy to really find information about you, the good and the bad. So if you aren't reliable with your clients, guess what? They might post about it. They might write a bad Yelp review, right? I think I shared an example in the past about one of my students, Alexi, has like a few hundred Yelp reviews. Well, even in my last business or any business, I feel like bad news traveled a lot faster than the good news. So we want to really be careful, right? Because the bad news does unfortunately travel faster than the good news. But also for those of you that don't have a Yelp account, this is a great way to build trust. So if you want a sixth way, a bonus, create yourself a Yelp account, which I think I've discussed before, because a Yelp account for an accounting firm is an amazing way to generate new clients. It's a great way to get testimonials from really happy clients. I mean, literally a Yelp account is a testimonial reel for your firm. And really don't focus so much on getting new clients and forgetting about your current clients. I always say, think about the 80-20 rule. Where does 80% of your revenue come from? If 80% of your revenue comes from the majority of your current clients, we don't want to forget about the core base of our current client base, which I think a lot of us do sometimes. We take it for granted. You have a client who's been around 20 years, but yet you're giving more focus on the brand new client. What if we flipped it and make sure that we follow through, right, on everything that we say? So the example for today is Stephen. Stephen owes John and Susie an email about what are the next steps to implement this plan and what are the estimated cost of what would be involved. So he's going to craft an email to send to them, and he promised it to them tonight. So Stephen will follow through. If we follow through and we keep to our word and stay in integrity with that, that's what's going to set you apart from a lot of other people. Because as accounting professionals, and I'm sure each of you has experienced this, we get a little busy. And when you get a little busy, you forget to do things. So make sure you stay on top of it, have your admin help you, and put it into play. Because these things I'm telling you about, they're real. And I literally experienced all of it today in building trust. And when you can build trust, people will pay you premium fees for doing this type of work. This plan today that Stephen got a new client was a $64,000 tax plan. So people need your help, but you have to do the work in order to establish the trust, the connection, in order to enroll these clients in really working with you. So I invite you to listen to this goal and put it into practice, but we really want to focus on not giving away your expertise for free, right? We want to know your value, and remember, think about how we're going to focus on the results, and we're not going to explain how we got there. We can explain the how once they become a client, but until they become a client, the how is irrelevant as long as you're confident on the result. And I know I gave you 6 ideas, 6 ways to build trust, but what if you focus on the 3 that resonated the most with you and put it into practice and see what happens in your firm? And I just want to thank you all for listening to the Abundant Accountant podcast. I want you to put this into practice, and thank you for joining me. Thank you all so much for listening. I hope you put at least 3 of those ways into practice. Also, if you have a quick second, I would be grateful if you could leave me a rating and a review on iTunes, and also subscribe to the show so you never miss a show. And I always love hearing from you. And one last thing before I let you go, if you ever feel like you're giving away too much information for free, or you're tired of not getting paid what you're worth, you're probably just like many accountants who feel like you're on this cash flow roller coaster. And I do have a solution for you. So you can join me for my free accountants masterclass over at theabundantaccountant.com to learn how to communicate your value, collect higher fees with confidence, and really get paid with what you're worth so you can work a little bit less and make more. I go into a lot more detail than we did today. And once again, you can visit theabundantaccountant.com. Thank you all for listening, and have an amazing day.